Hello, welcome to another episode of Lessons with Louie. Thank you so much for your continued support so far, and if you'd like to support the podcast even further, it'd be very kind if you could subscribe, listen, review, share it with someone you think would enjoy the podcast, and just spread the word. And if you do have any feedback or any way you think the podcast could be improved or made better, please let me know. I would love to know. And without further ado, here is our next guest, Emily Hogarty. Emily is a phenomenal performer and singer and a dear friend of mine. She talks to us about how she balances her dream of being a musical theatre performer and her choice to go down the educational path as well, but keeping in mind both. So we have a duality going on, much like I'm sure many people have. And we reflect on our time in New York and how fun it was. And honestly, I think it's a great conversation for someone who's battling with choice. So trying to decide, what will I do? Where will I be? And I think Emily really puts it in perspective. And yeah, enjoy. Alright guys, what's going on? So we're here with another episode of Lessons with Louie, and we are joined today by the wonderful performer, musician, Emily Hogarty, who is a second year student at the DIT Music and Drama Conservatory. Yeah.
Conservatory Music Drama, doesn't really matter.
Conservatory of Music and Drama.
Same thing.
And she's here to talk to us about her setbacks, her failures, how she keeps motivated, and why she keeps doing what she's doing in such a hard industry. So Emily, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. It's good to be here. I really love the atmosphere and everything going on.
Yeah, no, it's strange. It's one of those ones. It's like the college isn't, because we're in between DIT and Trinity for our course, very different. Like Trinity is because everyone's studying everything, because this is a conservatory of music and drama. Everyone's like a musician or a drama student here, so it's kind of. So like there's no lecture rooms, everything is like music practice rooms and stuff, so it's even the campus layout is different, so it's kind of, they're very different experiences when I'm on the Trinity campuses and when I'm on the DIT one. But we don't actually have any lectures this semester in Trinity, so I'd say my course anyway would identify far more as DIT students, because we're here so much. But some of us do extracurriculars like Trinity Orchestra or Trinity Musical Theatre, so that brings us to Trinity, but in terms of our actual course it's very much DIT oriented. So.
And what made you want to get into music like full time?
Music as in my course, or like music as just
in
a general like thing?
Music because you're studying it all kind of together in one, like
music. Actually don't know. I don't know. It's kind of just one of those things I always wanted to do. I remember when I was in second year, we did Phantom of the Opera in New Park, where I went to school, and I orientated the roles of Christine and Meg, and it was kind of the first, like I had done the Irish Academy of Dramatic Arts, which has since closed down, but I did that when I was young, and then I kind of I stopped doing that and took singing seriously, so I decided to just do singing lessons, because we couldn't afford to do both, so I'd do singing lessons, and I did piano, and so music was taken much more seriously than the theatre side, kind of for me growing through my school years. So after I kind of did Phantom in New Park, I kind of decided, I really want to do musical theatre. But then when I was so set on doing musical theatre, but then I lost my voice really badly when I was in transition year. I didn't treat it right. I couldn't speak. It was like a good 5 months I had no voice, and I went on voice rest really strictly for 2 months, where I would just not speak. And then even throughout, it was the summer of my fourth year going into fifth year is when I just kind of decided to rest it as much as possible. It was kind of the reason. I remember I lost it when I was at the Gaeltacht in the summer of my third year going into fourth year, and then it was just kind of a non-stop. I didn't let myself get better, or I didn't let it come back. I didn't rest it or treat it right, and I really took it for granted. And then the stamina and kind of strength in my voice was lost. So I kind of, when I was in transition year, I started rethinking what I could do after school, because I thought I couldn't do music anymore. I thought I couldn't sing anymore. So then I did my work experience in my primary school with my music teacher, and then in a creche, and I kind of was like, I kind of have a knack for this teaching thing. So I started taking teaching quite seriously. And then when my voice came back, it was still not, in terms of its strength, it's still not at the standard that most people our age would have a voice. My voice is kind of, it's almost like it would be the same. It would be like the same fragility of someone who's had a 40-year-long career and has been using it, and it's getting tired. Mine tires very easily and wears very easily. So I started thinking maybe musical theatre is a little bit optimistic for the stamina that I have in my voice, because you do 8 shows a week full out all the time, and like during your rehearsal period it's always full out. You have to take care of yourself. Opera singing is the same. You don't do 8 shows a week. You do your performance and then it's 2 days off and then the performance, so it's like 2 to 3 shows a week, but it's very intense on your vocals, and you're not mic'd in operas. It's all about the resonance. So it's so I kind of was like, these are two things that I never took opera lessons. I always had musical theatre, you know, and jazz and pop lessons. So I was never really an opera singer. I never knew that technique. So it was something that I kind of wanted to explore more in college. But I knew that if I did pure opera singing, I'd be well behind, because I never did like sight reading and stuff. The only knowledge I had of like my rudimentals and musical literacy was from secondary school and piano lessons. I never did it with my singing, so it was something that I obtained here when I would do my course. So I kind of, 4th year was when I decided music education was a really good course, because it kind of married the two loves of teaching and performing, but also like actually exploring music. I actually I'm a bit of a nerd and enjoy learning about music. And I mean, everyone has their weaknesses. Like I would never be someone who would be a dork about music history. Like I still huff and puff about going to like my music history classes and learning about, you know, the evolution of music. But at the same time, when I'm in it, I'm like, this is actually really interesting, and it's good to know where the music you're listening to now comes from and how it developed. And so that's kind of why I chose this course. So it's a really nice course. There's 10 of us. It's really intimate. We all know each other really, really well. Like it's, you know, we're not segregated. The only thing that we ever had as like an actual lecture was when we were in with postmaster students for like the general education lecture on the education, like the policy and its history in Ireland. So we had that before Christmas, and then now we're back to everything being just the 10 of us. So no, I really enjoy the course. There's always a part of me that would be like, should I have done musical theatre in college? There's always going to be that little bit of like, should I have just gone for it? Should I have moved abroad? Should I have done this? But for some reason, the UK never appealed to me. It was always the States. It was always, I'd love to study in New York. I'd love to do musical theatre in Michigan, because they have the Michigan University, which has a really good musical theatre program, or do Juilliard and do vocals there, be like Audra McDonald, do all these type of things. But I mean, the single reason I didn't go to the States is the price of college over there. But at the same time, there's always like, maybe I was just a bit, I think I'm always someone who overthinks everything and thinks about the safe option too much rather than actually thinking about what I want to do. It's more like I've put more thought into my fallback plans than
the actual plan.
The actual plan. Yeah. So it's like, so I have music teaching. I'll have my degree. If I teach for 2 years, I can save up and move to New York, and then maybe I can, when I'm there, I can try audition. But alongside auditioning, I'm gonna get me some sort of job teaching. I can do be a vocal coach. I can do, you know, I've always thought like maybe I could do some sort of like music, like journalism type stuff. I don't really know, like working for like Theatre Mania or Brother.com or Playbill or something like that, and reviewing musicals, but like from the perception of a musician. So rather than because I prescribe to all of these networks, I don't really know, websites, industries, websites, all those things. So I read them, and I always think that what's lacking is a musician actually reviewing the music. So it's something that, but maybe it's just me that's interested in it. I mean, there might not be an actual target audience for it. You know, so like I always read about the grossing and, you know, how much this made in a week, which musical reached what capacity in all this type of thing. All this, you know, nonsense. But I kind of really, I love reading reviews about people who are so passionate about musical theatre. They're the ones that always speak to me. But I feel that music and musical theatre, although have similarities, are completely different in the sense that, you know, if I'm studying classical music here, so whenever I mention musical theatre, it's like, nope,
shut up.
Nope, absolutely not. So like someone will be like, when we were learning about, you know, not using augmented fourths, which is an interval in music for composition or chorale writing, they'd always use Maria from West Side Story as their examples. They'd be like, see, it's just not, it's associated with the devil. That's where that thing is like, Maria, Maria. those different, that wasn't right, but anyway, it was one of those, you know, you have it's like fa, do, re, mi, fa, ti, it's that type of thing they don't like to hear. And it's so it's something that whenever they do, I just get really excited in my class, be like, oh, there she is, off again onto the theatre stuff. So it's something that I love, but I can never really marry in with my course. It's something that's going to have to be separate.
Well, maybe from what you said about grossing and being interested in like ticket sales, producing might be something that might interest you in the future, like producing musicals.
Yeah, I mean, even writing musicals would be something, I mean, it would be such a task. Like, they don't just come to you in dreams. Like, it takes a lot of work. Like, Lin-Manuel Miranda spent 7 years writing Hamilton. People, you know, Jonathan Larson, I don't know how long spent on Rent. And then Rodgers and Hammerstein. But Rodgers and Hammerstein knocked out all these musicals all the time. Like, they did King and I, they did, you know, South Pacific, they did Carousel, they did The Sound of Music. Like, they came out with all of these classics that are renowned classics, but there was musicals before that would have been considered classics. So they're classics for us, but at the time they were just regular musicals being put out. So I feel like now in musical theatre, though, everything's very forward thinking. Everyone's trying to do something new all the time. They don't want to repeat what's been written. So there's a challenge to that, but at the same time there's also a freedom to bring individuals' personalities to the type of music, to the score that they're writing. So there's loads of different things that I have interests in, but it's kind of which one. Like, if I were to go into the opera route, I'd probably have to give up musical theatre, because in order to really succeed at something, I think you just have to put all your time and effort into the one thing. So in order for me to be doing musical theatre, I ideally should be dropping out and going to do musical theatre and all that type of stuff. But I always kind of thought that this course would give me, if I ended up teaching, but it's not like I'd be miserable in that life. I enjoy teaching, and I would love putting on amateur productions with the schools that I teach in. You know, like, there's always that type of stuff, or doing an after school like musical theatre program, all those type of things. Like, I of course would be happy in that sort of career, but the love in my life is musical theatre. And I always thought doing BMZ, doing music education, would be a good basis, because I can always further my education in musical theatre. So do this, have a general music degree, a performance degree through classical singing, having that education part, then going to do a master's in musical theatre singing for 2 years, and then maybe doing a dip in New York after that, and then trying to do a grad visa in New York after that, and try, you know, do something like that. So I could always further my education in musical theatre. So I'm kind of someone that I feel like I'm 2 years into the course now. It would have been 2 years wasted if I dropped out and then went to join musical theatre. But at the same time, I could look at it that these 2 years, the music, the kind of the quality of music education I got could really benefit me in a musical theatre course, and I shouldn't look at it as a waste. But I don't know, I want to graduate because I really do enjoy the degree, but it's just one of those things. I'm so realistic and pessimistic about the odds of making it in things like West End and Broadway, even like professional Irish theatre, which wouldn't have a huge presence, but it's still a start for a lot of people. It's just one of those things that I kind of, as I said, yeah, I think about the backup plan too much, and I don't think I put enough time into actually trying to pursue what I love, and therefore that's going to be my downfall, in the fact that I won't get to do it because I'm not risking everything. Like, I'm pretty sure all the successful people have always said you have to risk everything in order to gain anything. Like, it's one of those, I think my dad used to say something about, like, you know, it's not the failing, it's, you know, how many times you fail and keep going that matters. Something along those lines. Yeah.
For something like performing, whether it's acting or singing, I think it's how many times can the human brain take that failure.
I just don't know if I'm geared. I don't know if I'm geared for the amount of no's I'd get. No, I'm too skinny for the fat roles, I'm too fat for the skinny roles. All of these things, like, I can walk in and they'll be like, no.
Too Irish,
too brown haired, oh, you have glasses, oh, you know, sorry, too big of hips, all these things. Like, literally, you'll walk in and they'll be like, you know what we're looking for. And you're not supposed to take it personally, because the director has a vision and you have to respect that director's vision.
Even though you're classically trained after this degree, you'll be trained. Like,
exactly, yeah. But it would be something that you can't, like, there's Leslie Odom Jr.'s book, Failing Up, and he talks about how like auditioning is the job. You can't look at auditioning as a step to the job. You have to prepare for the audition as if you're being paid to be at that audition, and you're being paid, that's your job. It's a part of auditioning is a part of the job. That's because you can spend 4 years auditioning and not getting anywhere, so you have to look at that as your career.
How many unpaid jobs can you do?
Can you actually do? Exactly. And, you know, there's workshops and there's always going to be things where you'll think you get successes. So like people who are in workshops for musicals and then don't get continued on to when they get brought to off-Broadway and then national tours. You know, they get the workshops. And I mean, that's with Hamilton. They had a different Angelica for the workshop of Hamilton. And they brought in Renee Goldsberry for the real thing. I think, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened with the workshop for Hamilton. So whoever was playing that Angelica was, you know, was in this workshop for something that was going to be the next big thing. And then it went to the next stage and it was no longer something that involved her. I think
next.
She could have, I actually think she went on to play Angelica after Renee Goldsberry, I think, because I think I watched one of those videos where it was like comparing the Angelica riffs in Satisfied and stuff, and she was one of them. So I could be wrong, I could be getting mixed up with something else, but I'm pretty sure they brought in Renee Goldsberry, but she did do it afterwards. But she might not have, do you know? And it's just so, I hate the unpredictability of it. I'm too scared to not know. It's not like I need a routine because I'm not I'm organised in the sense that I'm organised with my work and stuff, but if I had an essay due in 2 weeks, I'd start it 2 days before. Do you know, I'm not someone who I don't know, I'm not a fixed personality for things. Like if I really we had a composition assignment for today and I would usually do that on my bus in the morning and give him something and let him correct it and then take the feedback and then make it better. But I actually, for some reason this week, I was like, I actually really want to do really well in this. We had to arrange a Kyrie for 2 sopranos and 2 altos, and I was like, oh, I actually really want to do really funky harmonies and do this type of thing. So I spent loads of time on it and did actually put work into it, and the result is always going to be better when you put more time into it and stuff. But my lecturer still gave me very little feedback, as in he just kind of was like, yeah, Grant, moved on, and I was like, oh, I was expecting so much more from you. So it's different things. I have different attitudes towards different things, and even within one element, if it was a composition class, 1 week I could not take it seriously and another week I could. And so I'm not talking about the unpredictability of that type of thing, because I'm not of the career of musical theatre. It's more the I guess the financial stability. I have that in mind. It's also that I know I'm not the voice type for a lot of musical theatre that's on Broadway at the moment. I suit the classics. I suit the older musical theatre stuff that I'm not going to say is dying out, but it's revived every few years. It's not a constant on Broadway. So things like Hamilton and Dear Evan Hansen,
they'll go forever.
They're going to stay there. I mean, well, Phantom has stayed, just celebrated, it's in 30 years. I think it's 31 now, but 30 years on Broadway. So there are, but that's not, that's still after the period that would suit my voice the most. So Carousel was revived. Obviously, we went to see that when we went to New York, and it was the first Broadway show I ever saw, and I'm so glad it was my first Broadway show that I ever saw.
And can I just chime in there, because Emily was like, we're going to see Carousel, and I was like, oh, that sounds like the worst thing. Yeah. I don't want to see this old
took so
wrinkly
much
musical.
Convincing.
It did. Was it so much?
Yeah, there was the entire 8-hour flight. It was the bus journey in. It was at the TKTS stand, the ticket stand in Times Square. You were still kind of if it's over $50, I don't think I'm going to get them. It's not worth it for me.
$50.
It was exactly $50 for the rush tickets for them, and it was
amazing. It was honestly.
Now the thing about Carousel, the plot isn't the best plot in the world, but I am obsessed with the music, and I love Jessie Mueller so much. I love Lindsay Mendez so much. I love her in Dogfight. She is she is the pinnacle.
I'd love to see Dogfight.
Just everything in Dogfight. And then obviously Joshua Henry, I thought was...
Who liked all our Instagram pictures.
I love him so much. But then this is would be an example of the crossover between the opera world and musical theatre, because Renee Fleming was in it. She played Nettie, and she is I'm pretty sure that was the first musical theatre show she'd ever done. She is known as an opera singer. She's a Met. She studied at Juilliard, I'm pretty sure, and then went on to be one of the principal singers at the Metropolitan Opera. She is an opera singer, and then she crossed over, and it was the same with Kelly O'Hara. It was the same with Audra McDonald. I don't know about Laura Benanti's training, but she's very much an opera singer that does kind of musical theatre stuff. She has a belt too, so she kind of explores both of those. So does Kelly O'Hara. They kind of are gifted with the 2 voice types and are somehow able to maintain maintain vocal health the whole way through it. But I find, so they would be people that I would look up to. Like as much as I love Dear Evan Hansen, I know I could never be in it because I don't have that type of voice. It's not that type of, I'm sure I'd put people to sleep trying to sing Requiem in the voice type that I have. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of...
I disagree with that.
Do you?
Yeah. I think your voice is very adaptable from different performances I've heard you in.
Maybe, but it would be unsustainable, I'd feel. I feel like switching voice types would be quite unsustainable for my voice.
Ask you a question then to do with that, because I have, been thinking a lot about head talk. Like, how do you deal with negative head talk, or like the head talk you're kind of talking about, like, I could never do this, like all the kind of negativity. How do you deal with that to push past it?
I guess it's kind of like the spider diagram in my mind of like, if this doesn't work out, I start going, okay, then I have this option, this option, this option, this option. It's not, I don't really know how I deal with it. I just kind of put up with it. I don't think I'm someone who tackles it. I feel like that's a really bad thing, that I'm just someone who deals with it and thinks of the repercussions of it and does it. But like my vocal coach always tells me, like, I have such a problem being present. I have such a problem thinking about one thing. Like, she will correct me on something and then I'll go, oh, well, if this was wrong, am I doing this? Or I'll think ahead, like 5 bars ahead in the music. She'll be like, no, we're just focusing on this one mistake now. This is what we need to work on. And then we can move on if there's any other mistakes. But my head just spirals off. I think I'm a constant fast thinker. My brain is never slow. It's like constantly rambling on. It's going twice the speed that I talk and I speak so fast. So you can imagine. It's something that I don't think I tackle. I just think about, I go, okay, so if this doesn't happen on Broadway, then I can do this. I can teach in a high school. I can go do this. I can get a master's in this. I can become a vocal coach. I can, do all of this. But the thing is, because I love music so much, and like music is such a general term, like you can classify my speaking now as music if it was in rhythm, or, anybody can, music can be classified as anything. Do you know what I mean? It's just, you can put a tune to anything in your head, or you can actually, in your book, my speaking could be music too, because I'm speaking in certain tones and different pitches, or it could be monotone, but it's still then like you could talk about pedal notes. It's all of these different things. So because I love music as a general thing, a general element to my life, I kind of go, okay, so musical theatre is ideally performing. Musical theatre is what I want to do, but I also love teaching and I also love learning. So I might further my education before I figure out what I want to do, or I might go, I enjoy teaching in the sense of like choir directing, or teaching in the sense of musical directing, like what I'm doing with Chicago in Trinity at the moment. So it's kind of, there's loads of different things that I enjoy about music that it's almost like I try to convince myself that even if I don't do musical theatre, I'm still doing what I love, which is true. It's just, I convince myself that that's what I want to do when I know what I want to do is musical theatre, and the other stuff is stuff I wouldn't mind doing, but it's not something that I would pursue. I want to pursue the way I want to pursue performing.
I can completely relate to that.
Yeah.
We've had many, when we were over in New York, we had many of these conversations. And actually, I remember after, when we went to see Carousel, there was this wonderful elderly retired...
I was just talking to someone about them the other day, like about how everyone has these perceptions of like New York. Like my dad used to always be like, don't get your hopes up, you're going to hate it, because I hate crowds, and my one pet peeve about town is like slow walkers in front of me.
I hate slow walkers.
Slow walkers. It aggravates me so much. Like my dad was like, don't get your hopes up. And then the minute we, like our first day,
we're there about 5 hours. Like
it was the nicest couple you could ever imagine. We were in the line to get the rush tickets for Carousel, and there were these two. There was they weren't elderly. They were in their 60s.
Retired.
They were retired. There was two. There was a gay couple in their 60s behind us in the queue, and we didn't really speak to them, but we kind of like met eyes and smiled at them in the queue, and then we got tickets for Carousel, and then we sat down in our seats. At Carousel, they sat down beside us and they were like, oh, you guys were the guys in front of us at the ticket stand. And we were like, oh, that was us. And we kind of spoke to them a little bit before the show and then during the interval, and then we were kind of telling them about how this was our first day in New York. Neither of us have ever been to the States before. This was the first Broadway show we were ever seeing. That we were going to Dear Evan Hansen that evening, so we had booked Dear Evan Hansen in advance because obviously you can't
the
go
most
and
expensive
expect
ticket
to go.
I've ever bought in my life.
Yeah. So we booked Dear Evan Hansen about a year, not a year. We booked Dear Evan Hansen in October for June. So we booked Dear Evan Hansen in advance, and they were like €140, which is actually relatively $140.
So I think they were like €118.
Oh, something like that. But that's actually relatively cheap for Evan Hansen tickets because they go for like
5,
6. But I think Ben Platt's leaving show went for like $7,000 a ticket.
Oh, so Lane's was 10 for Hamilton.
Yeah, exactly. So there's all of these different things. But so basically, I'm derailing again. I'm such a bad rambler. Worst person to have on a podcast, Louis. So we talked to them during the interval. We're saying about this is our first time in New York. It's our first Broadway show we're ever seeing. I was saying about how I was trying to convince Louis to go, and Louis then at the interval was like, no, it's actually really good. I'm really enjoying it. And then when the show finished, we kind of were getting up to leave, and they were like, so we'd like to treat you guys to a nice dinner for your first day in New York. We want to make this your first show, your first experience seeing a Broadway show. We want to make it even better and bring you. And I kind of went, like, Louis was so happy about it. I kind of went, two strange men asking us for a dinner.
Half of me was like,
that because
taken or lovely. Do you know, like,
yeah, like, oh.
Do you know, like,
yeah, taken or so I kind of was like, I was like a little bit like, and I really wanted to stage door, but I wasn't sure if they'd stage door at the matinee either. So I was kind of like,
we were both
a bit reluctant. I was kind of like, oh, that's a lovely offer. And they were kind of walking out with them, and they were both talking about how they met because they were middle school teachers, and then one of them said that he used to bring
Joe and Bill.
Bill, yeah. So Bill was the one who used to bring his class, his class over from.
Every year.
Sorry?
Was it Les Mis? He brought them to Les Mis?
Oh, I think he just brought them to a Broadway show every year.
Okay,
like he would bring his. They both taught in middle school, so I don't really know that.
I think he said to me in the interval that he's seen Les Mis 30 times because he brought them to that.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
Yeah.
So then, but Les Mis isn't on Broadway that often. But he did say he did go. He said basically when 9/11 happened, they stopped making the trips because it became quite dangerous and stuff. I remember him saying that the way out. But they kind of seemed like these trustworthy guys that were, they were a gay couple in their 60s, seemed really nice. And then what I was worried about was getting into a car to go to something, but they were like, oh no, it's just a walk around the corner. So then I was kind of like, oh well, we're just walking, like what can they do? It's on a, it's a
we're
block,
beside Times Square, like.
And it was literally around the corner from the theatre. It was about a 30-second walk away from the theatre, and it was just this thing. And they went in, and like I don't know what the bill was, but they like got us 3-course meal, and they were just speaking to us about like what we loved in life, our families, why, what our plans were for New York, what we're studying, everything. Like it was honestly, they were the two of the nicest people I've ever met in my life, and they were so nice. And then Louis is obviously studying film, so he took loads of videos on his GoPro and pictures, and he emailed them. So we haven't really kept in touch.
I think they typed the wrong thing.
Oh no!
I think they typed the wrong.
So we'll never see Bill and Joe again. No, they were from Long Island, weren't they?
We'll locate them.
Sorry, we'll locate them exactly. But they were two of the sweetest guys ever, and it was just a really nice experience our first day. And then we left the dinner and went to see Dear Evan Hansen.
Day.
It was only just above average, yeah.
And then we ate falafel on the steps of Times Square.
Excuse me?
Yeah, I think.
Did you get falafel that night? I don't think we got falafel till the last day.
I think you got a kebab or something. Like, remember the guys beside Starbucks?
I think it was kebab, yeah.
I got a falafel.
Yeah, I eat meat, sorry, but...
Oh my god, I feel so bad. I was actually reflecting upon our trip, and I was like, I was such a dick because I was a vegan, and I was like, oh...
Everywhere we went.
Everywhere. No, but I wasn't trying.
But like, we tried to find some places that had vegan options and stuff.
I forget our dinners. Did we even eat dinner? I just remember.
I don't think we did. We went Brooklyn Whiskers. It was where we went for breakfast. We both did love Brooklyn Whiskers because I wouldn't even. You wouldn't really eat meat. I don't know what other people do, but I wouldn't really eat meat for my breakfast anyway. So we had like really nice. Every morning we got the same thing. We'd get like a coffee and then
avocado toast
and the granola.
And did I introduce you to chai lattes?
You did, and that was my whole. We've gone so off course here, but I didn't really know much about chai lattes, but I'd never had one before, and I would have associated them as more of a hot drink. But when we were there, I think you got it iced one
dirty
time.
Chai.
But that's the thing is, so you had gotten the chai lattes, and then I kept getting them with you, and I was like, oh sure, I'll try them, and I thought they were nice, but I kept going, I can't taste the coffee. I was like, why can't I taste the coffee? So then I went up and I was like, can I just get an extra shot because I haven't been tasting the coffee? And they were like, oh, so you want a dirty chai? And I was like, a dirty chai? And they're like, yeah, chai latte doesn't have coffee in it. And I was like, oh my god,
light bulb.
This is why. And so I ended up getting, it's not everyone's taste, not everyone's gonna like it. When I came back to Dublin, I went into a Starbucks, which I never do, and I was like, can I have a dirty chai latte? And they were like, a what? I was like, of course, I'm back in Dublin. They don't know what I'm talking about.
And Insomnia's ones are the best.
Oh really?
Or have you been to Accents?
Yeah, Accents.
Accents.
Is that what we say? No, I'm joking.
And yeah, so New York was amazing, and we had an amazing week, and
yeah,
it really fermented our friendship.
Yeah, and we saw how many shows? I saw 5.
I saw 4.
4.
Yeah, because Anastasia is Emily's favourite piece of art, and it's closing in 2 months.
Yeah, I think so. It was really sad. I really think it's, but I mean, it has the tour. You know, the tour is up and going. I think so. I think it announced that it was going to the UK, but it has a US tour, and it's on in Spain and Germany. It's kind of one of those things that took off in Europe. It's like,
it'll keep going, kind of like Shrek.
Yeah, exactly, that type of thing. So it's I loved Anastasia, and that was the best stage door experience that I had, was with Christy Altomare. She was honestly, I'm one of those theatre dorks. I tried to stage door it, everything. I go and I like to, you know, speak to them and talk to them. And we went to the Mean Girls guys, they all came out and they were nice. And then when we were getting our stuff signed for Mean Girls, we walked across the road, the theatre across the road from the August Wilson Theatre where Mean Girls was. Angels in America was on, so that was Nathan Lane, Denise Goff and Andrew Garfield, and Andrew Garfield came out and started signing people's playbills. So myself and Lou ran over and opened the ad
tiny
page.
Little poster
there's a page in our Mean Girls playbill that has like an ad for Angels in America, and we got Andrew Garfield to sign it. But Louis was telling me when we were there, you were like, oh yeah, remember there was that video about that guy that tried to get, oh wait, maybe it wasn't you. I think I was told about it before I went over by someone in the Musical Theatre Society actually, and he said that there was a video that was just released of someone trying to get 2 playbills signed by Andrew Garfield, and he was like, no, like I'm not signing 2 playbills, he's just going to sell it and all these type of things. And I was like, what if he gets really angry at us because we have Mean Girls playbills and not? And then we ran into 2 other Irish people when we were there, and she didn't even bother, like she just showed him her Mean Girls playbill, and he was like, do you enjoy Mean Girls? And she's like, yeah, and she was a bit scared as well, but he was actually grand about it. And then Denise Goff is from Clare, she lives on the estate where all my cousins live. So I was saying about how my auntie was saying about how when she like ran away from home at 15, she goes, oh my god, they knew that part of my life. So, and then she was nominated. The Tonys were that Sunday. We went to see it on the Friday, and they were all nominated for Tonys. Andrew Garfield won, Nathan Lane won. Like she didn't end up winning, but Tony nominated is still a huge honour to get. So
and we'll definitely be back in New York in the next 4 years at least.
Yeah, well, I definitely want to do my J1. That's something that's something I can say. That is something that I will plan for the future.
And then we met with a Hollywood producer, and it was a bit of an experience. Yeah,
it was just one of those bizarre experiences. Like we'll never have that same experience in New York. It's just one of those things that it was really special. Really special. Yeah, because. Like no one gets to meet those type of people, you know, walking around. And my cousins were there 2 weeks out July. They were there a few weeks after us, and they saw David Schwimmer just walking around Times Square, and they were like, "It's Ross, we're friends." Like I just don't think people have those same experiences every time that they go over. So it's definitely something that you need to remember for the books to tell the grandchildren, you know. So it's I'd love to live there. Ideally, I'd be moving away and doing I'd love, like, you know, there's so many instances of people doing their grad visa and then getting their like 3 or 5 year working visa. That would be something that I would love to do. At least spend a year over there and see, you know, if after the year I could end up hating it and want to come home, you know. So, but I'd love to do my grad visa. I'd love to do my J1 and then a grad visa and just really get to experience it properly, because we were on the go for that entire week.
No sleep.
And that was something that me and Louis disagreed on a lot, was the sleep, because I love my sleep. I love it. So I'd always be like, Louis, can we get up at 8? And he'd be like, like
the Empire
7.
State Building.
Like, we did the Empire State Building at 1 o'clock in the morning because we had gone to see a show, and then we went to get dinner, and we were like and we realized that it was open. We got these passes that you like just pay a big chunk for the pass,
New York
and then
pass,
you get in.
about €210 or something.
Yeah, and you get into it, gets you like free access. Well, not free because you pay for the pass, but it lets you go to all the sites. So we did the Empire State Building, which was really nice at nighttime, because we did the Top of the Rock in the daytime, so it was kind of like we got that kind of contrast, which was nice. But we didn't get back to, because it's like an hour and a half to get back to where we were.
Okay, it's like 45 minutes, wasn't that?
It wasn't, because we had to, for where we were that night, it was about an
yeah.
hour and a half, and it was 2 o'clock in the morning. My feet.
We got lost. That's why.
Oh, we did get lost. That was the night we got lost. Yeah, and then we.
Oh, that was a fun night.
No, it wasn't. Not at all. And it was so we didn't get back to like 2:30, and I was like, oh, can we get up at like 9 or 10? And you were like, 7. We have to like be out. And I was like, no. So we
saw everything though.
But it was something that I would love to just go and not be in such a rush to see everything. To kind of take my time would be something that I would do differently if I were to go back again, because we've seen it all now. Well, not all, but we've seen the touristy destinations, the sites, and there's still obviously loads more tourist destinations.
I'd agree. I think like if we spent a day in Central Park instead of an hour, and like
an hour on the bike, so you're only on that bike route, so we didn't. And then I was like, let's go off and try get to the fountain, that's in the,
and we had no idea where it was.
No idea where it was. We were walking, there was a map, we were trying to follow a map and all that stuff. And then we did Greenwich Village in the night. I'd love to do Greenwich Village in the day, because like Greenwich Village is where Friends is filmed. It's like it's where Rent is based, like East Village, Greenwich Village, all the West Village, all that area. I think there might be some more overlap. I think like the East Village is in Greenwich Village or something, I don't know. But
we love New York essentially.
Yeah, but we didn't get to see that end, because that's where NYU is. That's where all the student-y end was. So we didn't really get to see much of that.
The good news is I know 30 students who live in New York, so next time we're there,
absolutely.
I won't be in an Airbnb. I'll hopefully be on someone's couch. I don't know.
But Gillian was lovely.
Gillian, shout out if you're staying in New York, Gillian. I'll leave it in the show notes. I'll leave her Airbnb. It was great. Let's park New York for a sec, and let's just talk about what stood in your way getting into your course. What was your biggest challenge getting into music?
Getting into the course, the biggest thing that I found difficult was the auditions for it and the entrance exams. It was like, I didn't find it hugely difficult. There's just like, if you have a sense of musicality, you kind of have to fall back. It's not something that you can really prepare for. Like it's not like content based in that, like our leaving cert would be, you study set works, and you go and study these big pieces of work. You'd study like chorales, you'd do Bohemian Rhapsody, there's Mozart on the course, there's all of these different, like the greats, and you'd spend a lot of time, you'd spend 2 academic years revising these type of, revising the course content. But for the entrance exams, it very much just measured your musicality. But that scared me a lot, because then you start to doubt yourself, and of like, what if my musicality is not good enough? And it's still something like in college we have a course, like a subject that's aural awareness or aural perception, and that's pretty much purely based on what you hear in that exam. It's kind of what listening tests were, but it would be with intervals and dictation, and then you'd have single line dictation, you'd have transposing, you'd have all of these different like double line, 2-line dictation. There's a lot to it, and you kind of have to rely fully on your ear and your musical ability to do it. And that was kind of the same with the entrance exams. There was an element of like knowing, like the question that really would throw me off would be like, they had a question on it being like, who wrote Dido and Aeneas? And like at the time I wouldn't know that. We've studied it in college since, so I know it's Purcell, but I actually knew it began with the H, so I put down Haydn, which is completely wrong now when you align the time periods. But I just had these things. But then they also had stuff like who wrote Wicked, and everyone came out saying Sondheim, and I was like, haha, Schwartz. So there's these things that you have your benefits, and then it like what band composed OK Computer, and I knew that was Radiohead. So there was kind of a mix of genres on it, which I appreciated, because it meant that people could have their strong suits and their weaknesses. But there was loads of dictation. There was I can't remember. There was dictation. There was like listening out for, were the tones the same each time. intervals are a big thing in college, like identifying your intervals between the notes. And so it was a lot of that, and it was I had that for both my course that I'm doing, music education, and also for the DIT Conservatory, because that was my second choice, was just doing the performance degree here. So I actually found the performance degree audition harder than my BMS Ed audition, my music education audition. So the music education audition was in DIT Chatham Row, and it was my 2 course coordinators and I think the coordinator for the academy. So I had Marita, who's my course coordinator for Trinity, Mark, who's for DIT, and then the academy is the rotating year to us. So 2nd and 4th years we study DIT Trinity, but the current 1st and 3rd years will study academy and the Royal Irish Academy of Music and Trinity. So, and then the other girl that was on the panel accompanied me for my songs, and I did Cara Mio Ben and the Habanera, and they were the only 2 kind of classical based songs. I mean, one is more like Baroque classical, it's like Baroque, and then the other one is romantic. So I had 2 kind of contrasting ones within the realm of classical music, but it was but when I got to college, you know, my vocal coach was like, what's your repertoire? And I handed her the 2 things I knew, and she chucked Habanera in the bin, and she goes, we're not doing Carmen, we're not doing like romantic is not, we'll do Carmen Ben, that's perfect, that's fine. So we did, first year is a lot of kind of Baroque Italian lieder, a lot of German and stuff, and then you have to learn the basic. I had to relearn a completely new technique. The technique that I was singing with for the 11 years I was doing musical theatre training was completely wrong. She was like, you need to scrap that all out the window. And my teacher put it into perspective for me a lot, kind of saying, does it, like if you think about it logically, I think when you're growing up, it's so easy to be taught wrong because you kind of don't question it. You just take, oh, this is my teacher, they know best. But if you think about, you know, tilting your head back with musical theatre, singing to the gods, with opera, it's very much getting the point of, you know, the point where you're most relaxed, and like everything has to be so relaxed, but you also have to be really engaged and aware of your technique. So it's so different. Like the big thing for me was my head constantly tilting back and having, but if you think about the airflow, it actually has to be just in line with your shoulders, maybe slightly further down. It's just so relearning the technique. I always shut my pants about the sight reading, because I knew that I was gonna, so they handed it to me for my audition, and I just went to the panel. I said, is this the right time to tell you I'm not classically trained, I barely read music, it's one of those things. So it's something that is my downfall, it's something that was my weakness, and is something that I'm still weaker than my course mates in my course, because they would have all come from classical or trad backgrounds. But some of the trad people have, you know, they wouldn't have the sight reading down as much either, but they have a really good ear, because trad is all about airily listening to each other, whilst musical theatre kind of, you know, it develops the performance and it develops, you know, confidence and stuff. But in terms of the theoretical aspect of music and the aural awareness and the notation, it's not the best, you know, realm of music to help you out with that. It's something that if you have that, it can actually really benefit you the other way around. But musical theatre doesn't really contribute anything to the rudimentals. It's more the rudimentals will contribute to that, but it's not symbiotic. Like, it's different. It's there, one benefits the other, but the other doesn't benefit. So I found the theory part, not like, I just found getting into it, the requirements that were needed, I felt like I needed to work a lot harder than whilst everyone else in my course, you know, the lessons that they were doing and the training that they were getting was the right type of training, and they probably had loads of repertoire to choose from, and were choosing something that they might, I mean, maybe they were doing something new that was challenging for them to show that they were, show their ability, or maybe they were choosing something that was, maybe they did 2 grades ago or 2 years ago, and they know that it's challenging enough, but because they did it, you know, for an exam a while ago, and they know what they can do it really, really well and to really high standards. Well, I just chose 2 songs that I felt would fit the type of singing that they wanted to hear from me, and learned those. And so it was all, I don't think I had the most beneficial background for the course, but at the same time, you learn so much in college that you kind of, the stuff that you do outside will benefit to it. So like one of my course mates, she is a flute player, but she does a lot of conducting. Like she has been doing so much conducting this year, but she would play flute in Trinity Orchestra, but also the DIT Orchestra and wind band. She's doing a concerto, all of these different things. Like she does so much with her instrument to practice it and to train it, whilst I don't think I have that same love for the opera singing. So I would do what I need to do for my course, and then with the rest of the energy I have, I put it into the musical theatre stuff, which I shouldn't. If I want to become an opera singer, I can't do that. I have to put all my time into opera. But then if I want to become a musical theatre performer, I shouldn't be doing the opera. But maybe I should, because opera can really help in terms of technique. They're different techniques, but I don't know. I'm going kind of circling back.
No, but what keeps you motivated?
I don't really know. I guess the love for music. Like I'll always love music. I don't think I could ever hate it. Like even when I lost my voice, I turned to different. I started playing piano more. I started listening more, focusing more on the listening aspect. I got much stronger at the non-performing elements of music. But then losing my voice made me, like, it put a pit in my stomach every time I heard a song I knew I couldn't sing anymore and could have sung really, really well before, do you know? So I knew my standard, and it kind of wasn't until it was lost that I realised what I'd lost. It was really, I know it sounds so, when like those like novels, like it wasn't until it was gone that I knew what I had, but it was just one of those things that I really had to learn the hard way, that vocal care is deadly serious, and it's something that you should take so seriously. And that's like what, like with Chicago at the moment that we're doing in Trinity, I am in the actual cast, so I'm the musical director, so I teach them all of the music that they learn. So I teach the harmonies, I teach them, I basically teach them all the songs. And with the leads, like the thing for Chicago is, I knew that if I didn't do the musical director this year, the only role I would have gone for was Mary Sunshine, which is the opera role in it. Otherwise, I couldn't sustain that type of singing. But it's one of those things, it's because I'm getting the opera training now, I find musical theatre singing really hard to sustain, because I'm working all of my trainings going for sustaining an opera way of singing. So it's kind of like, so I will hear the girl who's playing Velma belt like the high note and all that jazz, or belt a note in I Can't Do It Alone, and I just kind of go, oh my, if I were to attempt that, my voice would be gone and I'd be on voice rest for a day and all that stuff. It would be something. But it's one of those things that everyone is geared differently. But I mean, people will not agree with me with this stuff. Like musicians are always going to have contradicting opinions. Like even professionals have different opinions on what's right and what's wrong. It's just one of those, I could never sing the way that the leads are singing at the moment with the belting that they're doing, because I find it really unsustainable. Whenever I try to belt, I lose my voice. But they have been trained differently, and they've gotten the different background to it. So it's but it's like teaching the harmonies and doing the stuff in Chicago, that's something that that is a symbiotic relationship with my course, because I'm getting loads of more experience of being in an authority type of position with teaching music based material, but also teaching music to people who are not, I don't want to say aren't musical, because they're all there because they're musical, but might not have a background in music. So someone like, most people aren't studying music who are in the musical. It's a college society. We have so many people from like medicine, BES, law. They're studying everything. Like it's people who enjoy performing, doing it on the side of their course. So it's that type of stuff that they do. And it's fun for them, but it's been really beneficial for me as someone who's studying music teaching to get the opportunity to have to have an ensemble that there's different music abilities in, to learn how to adapt my way of teaching. So I was saying at the beginning, I was like, can we really crescendo this here, guys? We want to do that type of thing and really go for it. And loads of them were like, sorry, what's a crescendo? And it's something that you take so for granted. It's like daily language in my study and my job, all of these different things. So it's something that I had to go, okay, so when I say crescendo, or I then would go, okay, don't use the word crescendo with them. Say, we're going to gradually get louder here, or if it was decrescendo, we're going to gradually get softer here. Or, you know, like if I'd say staccato notes to them, like we really need to make that, I'd just be like, no, we're going to really hoppy and light and jumpy. You just have to, I don't want to say dumb yourself down, but you do have to dumb the language down for them to comprehend it, because it's not there. But like if I went into like a best society for business, and they were all talking about, you know, grossings and, you know, capital and the economy, and I'd be like, sorry, what does that mean? You know, they would do the same for me. It's just the different smarts. It's different, exactly. It's the different smarts, all that stuff. Some of us have like lost the ability to just enjoy music. Like it's constantly thinking critically of it, and it's something that a lot of us don't like.
That'd be similar to me in films and TV shows. That
you can't just enjoy. Now, I don't apply it to like music that would be on my playlist that I enjoy listening to, but if I was listening to a classical piece of music, I'd think about, oh, what's the form here? What's the instrumentation like? What's the meter? What's the tempo? What are the dynamics being used? What's the timbre? What's the texture? All of these things will pop in. It's like a checklist of everything, and it's almost like it's what we're told it's how we're told to analyze music, but it almost feels non-musical to do it that way, to filter it through all of these different elements. But it's just a strange concept because it's so vast. But yeah, sometimes I just find myself critiquing things too much. Like, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of Ariana Grande, and I know you're a huge fan, so I don't want to like step on anyone's toes here. But like, I will listen to like that Seven Ring song. I get so pissed off when people like that, because I'm like, that's just Rodgers and Hammerstein. She's stolen
sampled.
My favorite things. No, not sampled, stolen.
Is it not sampled? What's your view on sampling music then? Like nearly everything in hip hop and pop now is sampled. I don't want to be so like one-minded that I'm like, no, it's stealing. Like, I get it, because it's kind of it's taking something old and making it new, and in a way you can look at it that, oh, this is actually, you know, people who wouldn't know The Sound of Music or Rodgers and Hammerstein's compositions, they now do, but through a filter of nonsense. Is what I'd say. What podcasts or books would you recommend someone to read to stay motivated?
Leslie Odom Jr.'s Failing Up, definitely.
Failing Up.
I bought it in Barnes & Noble in New York, but I think you can order it online, but it's
probably on Kindle as well.
I'd say so, something like that. It's such a nice book. Like he made his Broadway debut when he was 17, but he felt like he never really made it again until Hamilton, and he was in his 30s when Hamilton, he's still in his 30s. He was, you know, it's one of those things like people, like he talks about the struggle, he talks about being told no, he talks about rejecting opportunities for education, prioritizing education, all these type of things. So, you know, the conflicts he had with family. I think something that he said was, he was saying to his father-in-law, who I think is a motivational speaker, and he was saying to him that, oh, I really think I just want to give up. I don't really want to do this anymore. And he basically said to him, well, before you give up, do you want to actually try? So it was one of those things that he had never put his heart and soul into, the kind of like what I'm talking about, like constantly thinking about what to fall back on, or never putting, you know, not never putting 100% into things. It's more never feeling 100% there, or maybe never feeling like it's for you, like taking up projects for the sake of taking up projects. Like there's also it's a huge skill to say no to things that you know aren't right for you. You know, people will say yes and jump on any opportunity that comes their way for singers, you know, but saying, like, if I were offered something like, you know, something like Hamilton, I'd be like, I love this musical so much, but no, I know I can't do it. I know it's not right for me, because it can hurt me more taking it, because then, you know, it would be something that I wouldn't be able to sustain that type of thing, and I might not get any jobs after that, because I'll be known for absolutely butchering that role. Do you know what I mean? So there is there's such a respect in it, and I think he describes his experience and depicts his life choices really, really well in the book. So I think it's a really good book for performers to read, anyone to read, but specifically performers who are doubting themselves. I think it's something that I would do, you know, when you're talking about the voices in your head and all that stuff. It's something I would read that to kind of give myself a little bit of motivation. It's good.
I must give it a read, actually. Ever since you brought it, I'm like, I can get it.
Yeah. My Instagram is emilystyles_xo. Yes, it's after Harry Styles. Don't at me. It's
Emily, thanks so much for coming on Lessons with Louis. It's been such a good episode.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
I really hope you guys enjoyed that episode. I'd really like to thank Emily again for giving up her precious time to talk to us and give us some advice. And if you guys did enjoy the podcast, make sure to share it with someone you think would like it, and make sure to leave a review, as it really helps me. Thanks guys. We will see you next week, and have an amazing weekend.